everyone, and welcome back to Shop Talk. I'm Perrin Lovett, your host of the most non-controversial show on the internet about absolutely nothing. Today, we're going to be talking about what blade to use on your reciprocating saw for general home demolition projects. You'll want something that removes wood and nails with ease. That should have thrown off the AI, I hope. Welcome back to Prepper Post News. I'm Perrin Lovett. It is Monday, January 11th, 2021, and it's a very important day in our nation's capital. Let me tell you about it. By the way, if you're working with power tools, always wear safety goggles or glasses. Talk of impeachment is circulating around Capitol Hill. Now, you probably have never heard of any controversy whatsoever with the outgoing president, Donald Trump. Allegedly, someone once tried to impeach him before. I don't think that was worth covering. Well, anyway, they're going to do it again. All because he is allegedly a Russian agent. No, wait a minute. Their story has changed. Yes. He has incited an insurrection, even though he's the man who would declare whether or not there is an insurrection. You've probably seen the story. I've got something from the New York Post. Take a look at that at freedomprepper.com. And please check out freedomprepper.com. And by all means, do join us at the slowly beginning to grow freedompreppercommunity.com. This may be a very important time to come on over. It's freedompreppercommunity.com. All lowercase, one big string of letters with the dot. And I welcomed everybody on YouTube. We're going to talk about some YouTube news and all of the other socialist media things that are happening now. But yeah, the feature topic of the day is the impeachment story. I haven't even bothered to read them. You know, it's at some point you can't track all of this stuff that's going on. It's like we have two parallel realities that, well, maybe they're not even parallel. They're just all over the place. It's hard to keep things straight. And I know a lot of folks are worried right now. Don't be. I mean, it's whatever happens is going to happen, and we're going to be fine. But there's talk about impeachment. Apparently the Democrats, again, have drafted articles, and they may be dropping them right now as you're watching this in the House. I'm sure that will turn out just like the other one, if they can even, according to the official story, we've only got until next week, and then it's President Biden. So, there's the question. Why this sudden rush to impeach Trump and get him out of office? Why are they talking about him resigning and having members of his own party and his own cabinet pressure him to resign? Why are they talking about the 25th Amendment removal? You'll notice that none of that is sticking. And again, via the official story, what's the point? Just tell me what you think about that, or one of these other great stories. You'll recall on Wednesday Wednesday was when Congress met to certify the Electoral College results. Didn't happen until Thursday morning because of the peaceful protest in Washington, and there were some unfortunate incidents that occurred. We now know we've known for several days the name of the woman who was shot by the Capitol Police. Her name was Ashley Babbitt. She was an unarmed white woman shot by the police. I've seen some reporting. Her story is a little different than some of the other unarmed shooting victims of police that we've heard about in the past year or two, or 5, or 10. I've got a link to Zero Hedge, which has the shooting video. Take a look at that if you want to. It's distressing, but it happened. We had 5 lives lost. Every single one of them was a tragedy. There was Ashley. There was a Capitol police officer killed, a terrible tragedy, and 3 people outside who apparently, I don't know how they died. I think it was natural causes brought on by excitement, heart attacks. But sad to lose anybody. It was KUSI out of San Diego that first identified Miss Babbitt, a 14-year Air Force veteran, a big Trump supporter. And I've seen the mainstream media treating her a little differently than somebody, say, like George Floyd. You'll remember Mr. Floyd, who died of a drug overdose of fentanyl, who, by the way, was a convicted violent felon, once known to point a gun at a pregnant woman during a violent home invasion. But he got different treatment in the media than Miss Babbitt. The New York Times had a story. It wasn't that bad, but they, of course, I don't want to say they were blaming the victim, but they, instead of heralding her as, you know, a saint and a martyr and somebody who needs 4 funerals and a gold casket and a hologram projected all over the place, they found out that she was involved with a man. I guess it's her widowed husband now. Several years ago, there was a squabble with an ex-girlfriend or ex-wife. Might have been a restraining order temporarily in place. They pick out stuff like that to talk about, rather than the fact that this woman was merely engaged in political speech, which used to be an important subject in America when we had things like the First Amendment. And she was shot, even though she was unarmed. Now, I thought about the rhetorical ways to present this, and that's my nature. But honestly, she was at the front of a group that was trying to smash down some doors to get into a secured area, and there was a police officer inside whose job it was to stop anybody from coming in. Did he do what he had to do? The jury is out on that. The SWAT team was literally right behind her. She arguably individually was not a threat, but in these kind of situations, it's, if you were there, what would you do? You don't know until you're there. So, and that's, during this protest, I found myself looking at the screen and thinking, well, I kind of wish I was there. Most of us don't need to be there. That's what I keep saying. The best way to avoid any of this stuff is just don't be there, wherever there is. But anyway, if you were there, President-elect Joseph Biden, who has been confirmed by a joint session of Congress overseen by Vice President Mike Pence, recently said that the American patriots who were protesting lawfully for their rights in their government are thugs. They're thugs, they're anti-Semites, they're Nazis, they're terrorists. And I ask you to look at some of the pictures, and I've got a couple of them at FP today. Do these people look like terrorists? We've got the guy from Arkansas who was looking for the restroom, and he found his way into Nancy Pelosi's office. She wasn't there. He was very tired, and he sat down. It looks like a funny picture. I mean, the poor guy is tired, obviously. Then we've got, you got to laugh at some of this. We've got Oedeker, the Ostrogoth, taking over the Senate with his horned hat. What a time to be alive. And then my favorite is the don't take things that don't belong to you. But the guy with the podium on his shoulder and his beanie, and he's do they look like terrorists? No, they don't. They just look like people that got maybe a little carried away and maybe agitated by some interlopers who were deliberately sent in to agitate the way they always do, because that's what they're paid to do. But the most of the people, 99.99% of our folks who were there on the right, were there for the right reasons. And again, this spectacle absolutely terrified both the political critters in the Capitol and their friends in the mainstream media. Now, when you have, all hell breaking loose, anybody can get scared. That's a natural response. But I recalled over the weekend the words of Thomas Jefferson. When the government fears the people, there is liberty, as opposed to when the people fear the government and there is tyranny. So, which do we want in 2021? I'm with TJ on that one. More shocking headlines in our news today. Nancy Pelosi, again, They're trying impeachment. They're talking about the 25th Amendment. They're asking, demanding, recommending Trump resign with only, a week and a half left. She made the call to the Pentagon to try to get Trump blocked from accessing nuclear codes, saying that he is an unstable risk to national and world security because of his Twitter habit, which he doesn't have anymore. I wonder if that call. I mean, she's the Speaker of the House. She's very powerful. She certainly has her rights and authorities, but I wonder if she didn't cross a line there. And I know for a fact that that call was rejected. And in fact, President Trump may have been traveling recently to places like, I don't know, Texas and Colorado. Again, it's hard to keep track of everything that's happening. So, as we've been told to do, just sit back, enjoy it, enjoy the show with your popcorn. We're going to see exactly what unfolds. No matter what we think about it, no matter what I say about it, what's going to happen is going to happen. But yeah, okay. Now here comes the socialist media story. This could be the feature. All of these stories could be the feature. I've got some little happy stories at the end, more ordinary news, not necessarily happy. Everybody is being banned everywhere. I mean, everybody is being banned everywhere. As you know, President Trump has been kicked off of Facebook, YouTube, and now even his Twitter account has been permanently suspended. And he sent out some quick tweets on the official President of the United States Twitter account. Those were almost immediately deleted. Some people out there in cyberland grabbed them. I've read through them, and he said some things, about his disappointment and about how much he loves his fans and followers and the people that he represents. And he said he had a major announcement for, I believe it was Friday night. That announcement obviously was not for the general public, whatever it was. I stayed up for quite some time looking for it, couldn't find it. I'm just trusting the plan if there is one. But let's see what Twitter says. I've got links to this. They issued a statement, an official Twitter statement, basically going back to the impeachment allegations, the baseless impeachment allegations, lacking any evidence that he was trying to incite an insurrection by, talking to a group of people. By the way, he spoke to them late and kept them down the mall and away from the Capitol. Paul Craig Roberts, I don't have this linked up, has some firsthand accounts, and there are plenty of videos that show, if they have not been banned yet, that show what might have really happened. But anyway, they don't like what Trump said before, during, and after the protest. Here's the quote that stuck out in my mind. The use of the words American patriots to describe some of his supporters is also being interpreted as support for those committing violent acts at the U.S. Capitol. In other words, in Twitter's wise interpretation of language, American patriots means violent insurrectionists. American patriots are violent criminals. According to you, are no more than a violent criminal. There with Joe Biden, the president-elect. You're a thug. You're a thug. He repeated that. And then he started babbling. I think his medication started wearing off. I couldn't follow him anymore. But anyway, YouTube announced about the same time that Twitter was doing all this that they're going to ramp up their pre-existing policy on banning, anything that violates their terms of service. We've been through those. I looked for an update. I think they're just accelerating the strike system that we know about. Somebody asked if we expect this channel to be banned. I don't know. We are not violent insurrectionists. We're not thugs. We're not Nazis. We're none of that. I bite my tongue sometimes to try to adhere to these policies, many of which I talked about this, make a lot of good sense. But I did find that YouTube has outsourced some of their discretion to something called the CSIS rumor control page. That's a federal government service, and yeah, we have one of those that tracks popular online discussions and gives their statement. And I read through some of those. I'm not going to quote any of them, but they have some really good lawyers and some wordsmiths working on both their presentation of these, whatever the rumors are, and their correct response. Very cleverly worded, so as to make their parallel perception of reality makes sense. So take a look at that link if you want to read through it. It's not really critical, because in the next 10 days we're going to find out what all of this means. And also at the community, we had a recent question, or I got a question from somebody about what we're going to do to keep things straight if and when real trolls show up. So far, we've got nothing but great people. We've got a couple of super commenters that are helping us out in all kinds of great ways. We've got some fiction, some interesting prepper fiction floating around. You really need to get over to freedompreppercommunity.com, join up and check it out. A lot of people watching this I've seen on there, and I've seen a lot of people that have joined, and I can tell they're active. They're not really actively participating, but they are looking. That's fine. If you just want to use it as an information source, tell us whatever you want to. That's great, unless you're a truly malicious troll. And there are all different kinds, and eventually one will come along. And I can't remember when I joined up. I just skipped straight through. I figured, well, I'm Parent Love It. I can just go straight through. I don't need to read all these the terms of service. We do have some. And Scott does have a policy. There's nothing these people can do. You can't be a jerk and then legally demand that a totally private platform sponsor and tolerate your foolishness. We're not going to do that. In fact, if they get really out of hand, if we have anybody promoting anything illegal or slandering other members, there are things we can do to both ban them, and if they try to come back, to technically even have them criminally prosecuted for trespass to a private computer service. Not a problem yet. Don't worry about it. As I told the guy, if nothing else, they will be relentlessly hounded by this guy and his reciprocating saw. Let's see here. Here's an interesting story. We've with everything going on in D.C., the pandemic has kind of taken a back seat. And I had this theory that, if Joe Biden won the election, the whole story might just kind of, move on. The way that, we had a truck bombing in a major American city a few weeks ago, and that's just over. That, a truck bomb goes off and destroys buildings in a large city. That's the end of it. No motive. Don't worry about it. It never happened. You have some cosplaying Viking guy walking through the Senate, and it's World War III, and they won't shut up about it. What a strange time. But anyway, the vaccine, one of them or all of them are making their rounds, and there's an order for getting them, for getting the shot. The frontline healthcare workers, naturally, are at the front of the line, but there's been a snag in that, as the AP reports, a lot of doctors and nurses and other people that work in hospitals don't want it, and they're refusing to get it, and they're not even talking about it. It's just, we're not taking it. What do we do? Is this good news for those people in the next tier who want to move up? I think we know where we stand on that. Just take a look at that. Here's a great happy story that otherwise, 5 years ago, this would have been my lead story that I would have screamed and yelled about. Now I think it's next to totally irrelevant. But Zero Hedge reports that the governments of the world are in a fix because they've got to refinance $13 trillion in funny money fake debt. It's going to happen. Just yawn about this. It doesn't matter unless you want to look at the graph they put up that I don't have here, but the U.S. Far and away leads the pack. I think we have 6 or 7 of those 13 trillion, and it will be refinanced. It's a shell game compared to everything else that's happening. It doesn't matter until we can get some other things straightened out, and then we can address things like that. The last word that I had, and I feel like I'm forgetting so much, but I want to end on a positive note, and the last word of the day is the Bible. The Bible in a year. And I saw this, and I meant to check it out. I'll endorse this because I think we need it. There's let's see, Father Mike Schmitz is hosting a new podcast called The Bible in a Year. And it's much like the Bible book that you can buy that's sectioned off with daily readings, so you cover the whole thing in a year. Not a bad idea. I can't remember if this is the guy that I've been seeing advertised at Crisis. If not, it's something similar. Always good to have a little hope and faith, especially in uncertain times. And also, if you're, he's a father I guess he's a Catholic priest. If you want to follow along with him and you're not Catholic, you're just going to get several extra books, 7 extra books, 73 books instead of 66. Consider it Duro-canonical fun, or just ignore the 7 you don't want to read. Or you can go overboard and look at the Apocrypha. And the King James translation, they did the full Apocrypha. I can't remember which bishop was in charge of that project, but they had quite the crew working on it. Beautiful literature, if nothing else. Check that out. Keep your chins up. And also, in addition to hope and faith and not worrying about the problems we can't control, do take care of the things that you can control. Again, if you're working with power tools, doing something dangerous, wear safety equipment. Also, if you rely on any cloud-based data site or data storage service, whether it's a blog hosting from Wix or Blogger or WordPress, or Google Docs or online Microsoft Office, back up your export and back up your information now. Put it on a thumb drive or hard drive that you physically own and control. And also, we've seen some outages in addition to all these bans all over the place. We had this discussion Friday night. Parler has been kicked out of the Apple Store and the Google App Store. Just all over the place, disruption. Look for more of that, whatever comes our way, and just be ready for it. Keep your eyes open, and we'll be here as long as we can, hopefully with a brighter tomorrow. Everything will work out, and I will see you guys back. I think we'll do a cooking show tomorrow to dodge the AI. Have a great Monday, and I'll see you tomorrow.